Hello, Abraham. I don't know why, but for some reason, this thought just came to my mind when Esther said, "Suck it up, Buttercup." I chose this week to come here, and I got in the car this morning at around 3 a.m. to be here from Fort Lauderdale, and I'm extremely grateful that I'm here. Thank you for all that you do. I heard Sirius XM radio this morning for the first time, and I tuned into Pulse Radio, and I thought of Esther, and I wrote down the song that came on, and I wanted to read one of the phrases. It was a Rachel Platten song, and the words were, "I'll tell the world, I'll sing a song, it's a better place since you came along." So thank you, Esther, for all you do.
We are all in this together, aren't we? Yeah.
I had to take the cruise control off twice during the drive. Once was for a semi-truck, and the other one was for a vehicle that had Alabama plates. And when I was in the hot seat last year, you spoke of the rapper from Alabama. So that was another sign for me. I'd like to have a leading edge conversation with you regarding creating in the moment, masterful creation, and distinctions of being aligned, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and being with people, and not making anything good or bad.
Before you go further, and we want you to wrap back around and give all this to us again, but we want to say something just to sort of get this off on a stable footing, and that is creating in the moment. There are two things that you predominantly do that cause you to create in the moment. One is you're having a negative moment where you're putting something in the vortex. Remember earlier we said all of your creation is happening in step one. Does that shock you? Because it causes you to focus. You never know more clearly what you do want than when you're looking right at what you don't want. And so one of the two times is when you're experiencing something you don't want. That's when you're creating in the moment. The other way that you create in the moment is by being in a state of allowing, where you can allow yourself to be receptive to impulses that move you in the direction of what you want. That's what creating in the moment is. And when you think about it, the first part's really easy because you can't stop creating in those moments. There's no possible way that you cannot continue to have step one moments. And sometimes you think that what you're hearing from us is negative emotion is not a good thing, so don't ever have any step one moments. That's not what we're saying. We're saying let your step one moments happen as they naturally will, and be happy for the step one moments that have created something in the vortex. So that part of it you can't control. It's going to happen. Life's coming to you. Sometimes it feels like it's coming at you. You're doing those step one moments all the time, and step two is source takes care of it. That's not your work. But the creating in the moment that you're getting at is just practicing creating an atmosphere so that I can receive. That's all it is. The best possible way that you could be creating in the moment, since you can't do anything about the step one stuff because that's going to happen, it's just going to happen. The best possible thing you could do to create in the moment is find as many ways to feel as good as you can possibly feel. As much stuff that blisses you out, as much stuff that you enjoy. In other words, that's as rough as it gets.
Last year you said, people are going to say, "What's gotten into you?" And that's true, sort of, because I feel that way mostly. And when I'm in meditation every morning, it's not to fix something or to do anything. It's just to quiet my mind, to receive, and to get in that inspirational space. And the people are showing up and coming in ways I can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah, they're just surprising you and delighting you all over the place because you've created the nucleus, the receptiveness that allows that. Yeah.
I see now being in that high-flying space, and I'm able to see the distinction of other people being where they're at, not making anything of it, not taking it off of my high-flying space, but being in that creative moment with that. Know that that's my point of attraction as well as theirs. Maybe they're aware of it or not, that's irrelevant. However, seeing maybe somebody's not quite there, not taking me off, but then I'm inspired to share what I feel or what I'm doing.
What you just described is what we've been talking about here today. You are not influenced away from your connection by what you are seeing, which means you have enough momentum in your alignment going on that you can actually observe without your vibration shifting. That's what seeing through the eyes of source is. That's what true upliftment is. You know what you just said to us? Abraham, I can meditate and quiet my mind and get in the receiving mode, but I can also be right in the throes of life and having prepared myself so well for the receiving mode that I'm good in all kinds of environments that I used to not be so good in. I used to need a quiet, dark room, and now I've got so much momentum going in my alignment that I can be anywhere and still be inspired to the perfect thing in this moment. That's cool.
And also seeing bits and pieces of all of our friends who were here before in spaces that I've been in my life where I used to make that wrong. I would make people wrong. I would make past experience wrong. And I get that it's all a part of wherever everybody is, and there's no right or it's just their view. And it's
then
the
you know what you're
distinction.
doing? When you have found a way to make peace with your past, you know what you're doing? Changing the past. Because it was only perceptual anyway. What past is the real one anyway? Who would you like to write the history of what's going on in your nation today? Who could accurately write it with all the different vantage points? What could they possibly put in the history book that would have any real form of any true reality when it's such a combination of so many different perspectives? So when you are able to feel good about a past that at one time you didn't feel good about, you're seeing it through the eyes of Source, you are changing the past. And the parts about it that bothered you can therefore never come back and bother you again. Because those parts don't exist. Because they only existed in your perception anyway.
And people show up differently.
They do. Oh, changing your neighbors. How you feel about people is influential. When you have discovered how to truly love, the loveliest people shows itself to you. The loveliest parts of them come out of the woodwork and surprise you. Whoa, where did that come from? I'm used to you being different.
And I remember you shared when something to the extent of, I remember when I made you a bitch or whatever perspective was like the worst perspective you're bringing out in that person, because I can see it and get it. And it had such a profound shift with my mom and my family and my parents, and to see them and be there with them, just really, to really wholeheartedly just be with people.
And then here's what you're really reaching for, being the teacher, born to be an uplifter that you are. So once you get the hang of it, and you have, of your own alignment steady, and therefore your own influence steady, then you serve as a sort of satellite dish. You've beamed in the signal so that they can catch a whiff of it easier. You're influencing others to the same joyful connection that you are enjoying. Yeah. And they might come, they might not, but them not coming and that not bothering you is a really good sign.
And it's so funny because I remember when I looked at people a certain way, especially the family, because they're the greatest fun. And I now see where they're like, oh wow, by my example of what I'm being and doing, not trying to fix them or looking at them, just leaving them alone, that they want to spend time with me more. They're interested in what I'm doing in my life, and they want to be with me. I know, I get it, but to know and get it, and to have the lesson or to hear it is so completely different than life experience. And this week, I've been experiencing something more where I felt somebody came into my life where maybe they didn't know where they were going, and I saw that, and she came in, and through my guidance and with our interaction and through what I saw with her and her with me, I felt like she expanded, and so did I, and the goosebumps.
It's always that way. Can't be otherwise.
And before, I never experienced like the whole of me was shaking, like I was vibrating, like just pulsing through me. Every hair on my body was standing up, because I was like, this must be the magical moments that the life is really made of, like true, real expansion.
What a moment like that is really indicating is you moving into a fuller accessing of the wholeness of who you are. And the reason that it felt that way to you physically is because that sensation was you getting up to speed with you. When Esther first began speaking for us, and first she was sitting because she was so unstable, the mixing of the energies was unsettling to her. But then eventually she began standing. The coming of Abraham was the way she described it. Really, it was the lifting of Esther that was happening. It was our dominant energy and her being close enough to it that we could call her into it, but it gave her a sensation of swooning, a little disorientation for a little bit. But she doesn't have that anymore. But it doesn't mean that the alignment is not as complete. It just means she didn't have to go so far to get it. You see what we're getting at? And so these sensations that you have are about your energy adjusting upward. Just like negative emotion is your energy adjusting downward, or as you being influenced away from your natural influence. And we want to just punctuate that, because everyone that you're meeting, it is natural for them to be drawn to you when you are in your alignment. And the more you're in alignment, the more you begin to realize how easy it is to influence people to that. That's why music concerts are filled to the brim. People want to feel good.
If you were to give me and everyone who's here today the single best advice as to what to be in the moment, to really truly wholeheartedly speak, to be an uplifter in the moment to the core of your being, what would you say? Would there be a rampage? Would there be a dialogue? What can you offer us?
This is what we wish you to know. Your best focus, or work if you want to call it, or attention if you want to call it, in any moment in time, is to be advocating your best influence, which means it's your constant attention in the preparation and maintenance of your vibrational atmosphere, because it's about reception, 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 which means it's about tuning, 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 which means it's about allowing the well-being. So it's about selectively sifting. And really, you know what it starts with? So this is the answer that your question is calling from us in a powerful way. Be nice to you. Be nice to you. Rest well. Eat well. Get out where beautiful things are. Play with people who are fun. Think thoughts that feel good. Watch movies that are uplifting. In other words, be nice to you. The other parts of it, the step 1 and the step 2, take care of themselves without you even needing to know what you're doing. But step 3, that receptive mode, you got to tend to it, which means be nice to yourself and quiet your mind every now and again. But be nice to yourselves. Think nice things about yourself and think nice things about others. Netflix sent Esther an email. They know her personally. With a recommendation of something that she might want to see. She looked at it and she said, "Do you even know who I am?" It was such an odd recommendation. And then she thought, I don't think that watching that would be conducive to me creating an environment where I am receiving and encouraging wonderful things. She could tell just by the title of it that it was going to make her guarded and defensive and worried about stuff. And so be nice to yourself. Advocate for yourself. One day, Esther was grumbling at Jerry about something. Hard for her to imagine now because she only remembers him as perfect now. Change that past. He was close to it. But he said to her one day when she was grumbling at him, "I think it would be nice if you would pretend that I'm Kate." And Kate at the time was their granddaughter, who was about 5 years old. And Esther did not have the ability or the capacity to think anything other than lovely thoughts about Kate. It couldn't happen. And Jerry thought that he would like to be held in that same light by Esther. And that's sort of what we're getting at. Pick your favorite whatever it is on the planet and pretend that you're it. And treat yourself as you would treat that. Be nice to yourself. And that will go the furthest of anything that you might do to creating this petri dish neutrality of an atmosphere that will allow yourself to be so receptive to the wisdom and the love that is naturally who you are.